Welcome to 2K Sports in the NBA. I'm your host, Damon Bruce. Wednesday in the NBA. It's going to be Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs up against Kevin Garnett and the Boston Celtics. And now time for the call by Kevin Harlan as we get ready for the opening tip out in Boston.
We are live in Boston, Massachusetts, the gem of New England, as the Celtics are about to go into this interconference contest right here. With you for this installment of 2K Sports coverage of the NBA. Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Harlan alongside Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg to bring you all the action. And the starting group for the Spurs. Parker and Manu are the backcourt. Jefferson, McDyess, and Duncan are the frontcourt. And for the Celtics, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce on the wings. Kevin Garnett and Jermaine O'Neal at the 4 and 5. And it's Rondo in at the point guard.
25-16 were the Spurs on the road last season, guys. That tied for the 5th best road record in the league.
And so off the tip, it's Boston. Allen left side. They get a hand on it. Out of bounds. And they'll keep possession. And Clark, I think a lot of that is veteran discipline. You talk about the Spurs and how well they played away from San Antonio.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve, I know you've been through that, played with veteran teams that play well on the road.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kevin. I mean, you got veterans, you execute, you never fear anything, you know you can win. That's a team that just knows what it's doing, and that shows in their road record.
The feed to Jefferson. Now Pierce defending. Jefferson kicks to Parker. The pass to McDyess. Lots of room. And it's good on the assist by Parker.
Nice way for him to get started here early.
And guys, hopefully a sign of things to come from him here. At this point, really, I mean, Parker has become the extension of Greg Popovich on the floor along with Tim Duncan. And they both are capable of running the show. They do it in different ways, though.
Now we'll go to Doris Burke, who had a chance to talk with head coach Doc Rivers.
We talked about their offensive game plan, and he hinted that they'll be displaying a lot of different looks in their offensive sets. He said in order to beat a team with this kind of defense, they'll have to keep things fresh and keep them guessing each time they come down the floor. Guys?
Thanks for getting back to us on that report, Doris. Guys?
You know, it's really important not to be afraid of the defense over there. I mean, you can't be playing in a fearful fashion. You just got to pick your spots and execute.
Yeah, and be aggressive. You know, you're right, Clark. You can't be intimidated by the speed and strength of this defense. You got to have confidence and take your shots when they're there and attack the lanes when you got an opportunity. Well, no defense there. I mean, he just takes the ball right to the rim.
Well, Clark, going back to what you said about Popovich and Parker, and I do think, though, they're on a very even keel right now. Steve, that's a very important relationship, isn't it? Point guard and the head coach.
Yeah, it sure is. And, you know, I was there when Tony Parker and Pop were butting heads in San Antonio. That was at the end of my career. I think it was great for Tony to have a...
And he puts it down with authority. Spike slam Cam for another angle.
Well, that's a dunk you will not see very often. You won't pass that one by.
No doubt about that.
I wish he would, though. You can never see too many of those.
Chris Ditchy's checked in for the Celtics.
And Richard Jefferson coming off of a year last season where he started out strong, but he really didn't keep up the pace, and his consistency slipped as the season went on.
Jefferson, no good on the free throw. Back to that production dip by Jefferson, around 15 points in November, down to 9 or 10 at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's hard to put my finger on exactly what happened there, but clearly the numbers do indicate there was a big drop-off, and it carried over into the playoffs as well. The scoring really dropped in that series against the Grizzlies.
Here's the break. Here's Allen. Throws down the breakaway jam.
Man, that's the problem when you don't protect the ball.
Exactly. When you surrender the ball like that, you put your defense at a huge disadvantage. I really don't like what I'm seeing their last couple of possessions, Kevin. That's 2 turnovers in a row, careless turnovers at that.
They're getting a little casual with the ball. They've got to nip that in the bud right now.
Here's Parker.
Well, we all know Rajon Rondo is among the fastest players in the NBA, but he's really the only Celtic who wants to get out and run. This is more of a half-court team. In fact, Boston finished in the bottom 10 in the league in fast break points.
And here's Rondo. Pierce with it. Kristich inside. On the money. And Steve, you're talking about the Celtics and their slower pace, bottom 10 in fast break points. Clark, I guess that's often the case for more veteran teams. They don't want to get into a track meet.
Yeah, I think they've got to be more efficient in terms of how they massage offensive possessions. I mean, you look at Rondo, who is an absolute burner, but the rest of the starting unit probably better suited to a half-court game. And it'll be interesting seeing how the Celtics go forward because Rondo moving into his prime and obviously more effective in an up-and-down game. Will the Celtics acquiesce to who he is and what his best type of game is as they go forward?
And it's slammed in by Ginobili.
Old school, old-fashioned, one-hand power jam.
Just like you, Clark, tried and true.
Hey, that's all he needed to do, just taking care of business out there.
And it's blocked. Out of bounds. They'll keep possession. Some changes for Boston. Jermaine O'Neal is checked in for Kristich. Davis comes in for Kevin Garnett. And it's Green in for Paul Pierce. San Antonio also making some changes. Dewan Blair, he's checked in for Splitter. McDyess comes in for Richard Jefferson. And Gary Neal subbed in for Tony Parker. It's stolen by Rondo. Allen against Duncan. Rises up and throws it down. It's all knotted up. Here's Neal. 1:05 left in the first quarter of the game. It's stolen by Rondo. Allen outside. From outside the arc. Basket is good. The assist from Rondo. Rondo's got 4 assists in the game. Poked away. It's stolen by Rondo. And a foul on the shot. He'll go to the stripe for 2.
Heads-up play, preventing the easy lay-in.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, he saw it was a free layup, didn't want to give that up, so he fouled him to force free throw.
And how about Rondo's assist totals last season? They took a huge jump, and that's saying something because he had already averaged 10 per game the year before. So he and Steve Nash, probably the 2 best passers in the league, and they led the league in assists a year ago. They were 1 and 2.
Getting back to Rajon Rondo, you can see, Clark, he was trying to pass more last season, be the playmaker for the Celtics.
Yeah, he's always a great facilitator, but he took that to a whole different level this past season as he kind of went out of his way to pile up assists. I think he has to balance it. Got to continue to add to his scoring ability and his perimeter shooting game, but he certainly is a terrific setup guy.
It was a gruesome dislocated elbow in the playoffs against Miami, and we didn't get to see the full flavor of what Rondo could do.
That's right. We've seen it in the past, though, and as long as he's healthy, we're going to see a lot more of it in the future. That's the way to work the ball in close to the hoop, guys.
Celtics leading by 3. Stolen by Ginobili.
Too risky there on that pass.
And a sloppy stretch for him. Now 2 turnovers in 3 minutes. He's got to focus in and value the ball.
Both sides really coming out of the gate firing here.
Guys, they look like they were raring to go in this one. A lot of offense early on.
Defended by Allen. It's stolen by Allen.
Great job defensively, getting out and forcing that turnover.
That was vicious. I mean, real vicious. He hung on the rim just to say, you realize this is my basket, don't you?
That is a nice finishing touch.
Yeah, just finishing with a little emphasis, guys. Nothing wrong with that.
Duncan knocks it down from 19 feet. Duncan's got 6. The scoring fast and furious as we end the first quarter. Celtics out in front. They're up by 5.
Pretty good start defensively.
Now the second quarter getting ready to start up. Here's Parker.
Boy, it really had to be deflating for the Spurs after winning 61 games in the regular season to be bounced out of the playoffs by the Grizzlies in the first round. And it raised some interesting and difficult questions for them moving forward.
So with Duncan sitting on the bench, here's how the floor looks for Greg Popovich. Jefferson and McDyess make up the forwards. Tony Parker is out there with Gary Neal, and it's Blair in at the center position.
Got just enough of him on the way out to draw that whistle.
I thought that was a good call, Steve. I mean, you could see how that affected his shot just a little bit.
Going back, Clark, to that first-round upset, the second time an 8th seed has ever won in a 7-game series, and the Spurs were thoroughly outplayed, Steve, by the Memphis Grizzlies. Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol. What a collection Grizzlies got by him.
Yeah, that didn't feel like an 8th seed, did it? I mean, Randolph and Gasol so dominant in the front court. And then I thought Memphis's defense was really good, too. But the Spurs, as well as they played the regular season, just didn't have it in the playoffs. I think they needed an infusion of some young talent there in San Antonio.
Now let's go to Doris Burke. Doris?
Guys, Rajon Rondo, a quiet demeanor off the court, but on it, one of the fiercest competitors you'll ever see. And he's driven to be the best. He said, I play the game to prove to everybody amongst my peers that I'm the best. Hands down, no speculation. Oh, he may be top 3, top 5, top 10. No, I'm the best. You've got to prove it every night. Every night, somebody's going to be gunning for that spot. Guys, confidence and competitive fire, never in short supply for Rajon Rondo.
Thank you, Doris. What do you think, Clark?
Well, you can dispute whether or not Rondo is the best, Kevin, but the point is, he believes he is. And that motivates him to go out there and try to prove it.
Now, they read the defense perfectly that time.
Spurs trail by 9.
And I'll tell you what, one of the reasons the Spurs finished last year with the best record in the Western Conference was the play of Tony Parker. He was really the key part of that offense. They made a point of pushing the ball and scoring more in transition. And, of course, Tony Parker, one of the fastest players in the NBA.
Celtics leading by 7. And Paul Pierce with the slam.
Another fast break move. They're just outrunning their opponent here.
You know what, Steve? I think the defense has left themselves vulnerable, and they're learning the hard way that speed definitely kills.
Yeah, not just an everyday finish. He put a little pizzazz on that one, guys.
Keep talking about Parker. Duncan alone, Clark, isn't enough to get the best record in the West, best record in the NBA. You need a second star, and Parker was there.
Well, Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, they kind of team up together to be the other superstar to go alongside Duncan, and I think they're really underrated, I mean, in terms of what they're able to produce on a nightly basis and the kind of pressure they put on the other team's defense. They just lost him on the break that time defensively. I mean, he slid out to the three-point line and had plenty of room.
Spurs trail by 10. Here's McDyess, and he finishes nicely on the layup.
Well, they haven't been getting lit up from outside here. All the points they're giving up are from in close. They've got to offer more resistance.
Yeah, defense has to get better, Clark. They've got to body up, bump somebody, get physical, force the action back out to the perimeter.
And some changes here for the Celtics. Kristich comes in for Jermaine O'Neal, and Delonte West is subbed in for Ray Allen. Then for the Spurs, Tim Duncan, he's checked in for Blair. Splitter comes in for Antonio McDyess, and it's Ginobili in for Gary Neal.
Now that's a clinical example of how to get up into a shooter, how to close out on a great shooter. Any effort short of that, and the shot is probably going down.
Yep, really showing his ability to bother the long-distance shot. No contact either.
Celtics leading by 8. And it's slammed in by Garnett.
How about that? Nice and easy right there.
Yeah, he didn't even try to do it too much.
No fancy stuff. He'll just take his 2 points, go back and play some defense. Well, the Celtics played pretty well against the Western Conference a year ago. They went 19-11 in their 30 games versus the West. Not bad.
They grabbed their own miss.
Now, he had plenty of space, poor defense, but I'm not sure about his touch from that range.
And the ball goes out of bounds. Turned over.
Not sure who made the blunder there, but there's no way that should have been a turnover.
.133 left in the first half of the game. Now, Steve, you look at what the record for the Celtics was against the West. You mentioned 19-11. Clark, how do you think they match up with the best of the Western Conference?
Well, you look at the best teams in the West, Kevin. I mean, there's great size pretty much across those front lines out west. The Celtics actually got a little smaller last season when they traded Kendrick Perkins away, so that center position remains a question mark when you compare the Celtics to the teams out in the Western Conference.
From the sideline, let's catch up with Doris Burke.
Hey guys, well, one of the identifying characteristics of the Celtics, one of their calling cards, has been their tough defense over the years. Former coach Phil Jackson had high praise for them, saying they're going to smother, they're going to contest, and they're going to body guys. He added that these things you'll have to account for and plan for when facing the Celtics. Guys, not easy to do.
Good job, Doris. Boston always near the top of the league in defense.
And, Kevin, I think Kevin Garnett has the most to do with that. He's the anchor down there.
And he flushes it through. Sprite Slam Cam with the replay.
Well, that's the way to corral that rebound and then go back up with force. Make them feel you.
Yeah, you know, Clark, the work he does on the offensive glass has always been so impressive.
Now, that might be where he's most valuable to this team.
Parker passes to Ginobili. Here is Splitter. Tipped. Ginobili. Pierce covering.
Well, he's forcing the issue out there, guys. No question. He's really struggling trying to take care of the ball.
Here comes Tony Parker. Here's Duncan. Not really his range, and it's off target. Got it up. The shot is off. And that concludes the first half. Celtics lead by 6.
And it's been a great game out in Boston. Thanks so much for joining us for the HP Halftime Report. Boston leading against San Antonio.
Well, both sides have assessed what they need to do over the break in halftime. We'll see now if one can pull out away here in the third. Here is Parker. Rondo, Allen, and Pierce for the perimeter. Kevin Garnett and Jermaine O'Neal at the 4 and 5. That's the 5 to begin the second half for Doc Rivers. Duncan with another miss.
Good percentage shot, though. That's one they'll take any day of the week.
Boy, I tell you, Tim Duncan, Kevin, just a technician on that low block. Efficient and effortless. Man, he's got an array of moves down there. Guys, that's what he does. I mean, he excels at getting to the rim.
Makes the lead pass. Knocked away. Kevin Garnett with the steal. Pushing it up. For the finish. Whoa! A replay here. The Sprite Slam Cam showing us how it's done.
A little bit of a struggle defensively. They got to defend the hoop.
I'm not sure they could have gotten there anyway.
Ray Allen is such a talented player. Had those early years in Seattle where he was brilliant. But in Boston, he really found a role on a great team.
Clark, you know, when you talk about the Celtics defining Allen's role a bit more, and that's what good teams do, isn't it? Clearly defined roles for players even better than ones like Ray Allen.
Kevin, you're exactly right. And, you know, Ray became a much more consistent defender for the Celtics. I mean, you see that, and as you define roles, you can rein players in, and in some aspects, you can push them to do more in other areas. I think we saw it with Doc Rivers and Paul Pierce. Sure. From an offensive standpoint,
you got it.
Encouraging him to be more of a playmaker and facilitator than just a bucket producer. Tell you what, he can be really frustrating as a shooter. All you can do is grimace because he just can't find the range.
Here's Ginobili, and it's sent back by Garnett. Out of bounds, and they retain possession. Time called here. The Spurs decide to talk it over.
I thought Kevin Garnett really bounced back last season. and looked better physically. Remember, the knee issues have been a problem over the years, but looked great last year and is always the key to that Celtics defense.
Here's Ginobili. He kicks it to Parker. He's picked up by Rondo. Ginobili, that's for two. Again, the miss by Ginobili. And for Kevin Garnett, among active players, the second most career minutes played after Jason Kidd. So Parky's got some miles on that odometer.
Yeah, he does. But last season, he upped his numbers across the board, Kevin. I mean, he may not play till he's 40, but with his size and fire for the game, I think he's still got plenty in the fuel tank.
McDyess down low. Ray Allen grabs the board.
And the offense continues to struggle. Just one make in their 5 attempts.
That's good from Paul Pierce on the assist by Rondo. Rondo's got assist number 8 here in this one already.
And the Spurs were so consistent last year against the entire league. They were 23-7 against the East, and of course did pretty well against the West too.
Nice shot by Ginobili.
What an amazing trick shot to confound the defender. Oh, man, that's awesome. He's taking him to school right there.
Knocked loose. Parker with the steal. Takes it up. And Jefferson throws it down hard.
Fellas, oh, my goodness, what a slam.
Yeah, he usually gives the fans something to remember him by.
Yep, you can count on something special from him on a nightly basis.
You talk about the East, you can talk about the West too, Steve. A lot of those teams probably glad they only have to face the Spurs 2 or 3 times a season if you're an Eastern Conference club.
Kevin, always a really difficult matchup for anybody are the Spurs. I mean, they're just one of the toughest teams in the league. Experienced, cohesive, together, extremely well coached. I mean, they epitomize what you want to see in a championship caliber team over a long period of time. I mean, their consistency has just been remarkable, and a lot of people share in the credit for that.
And the dunk by McDyess.
You know, you get better elevation with the one-hand dunk, and it's the most basic of all. Keep it simple.
And probably the most reliable.
Yeah, hard to mess that one up.
Allen for the 3. That is good. Allen's got 6 points in the quarter.
Boy, he's been good offensively tonight. I really like what I've seen.
Spurs trail by 12.
Well, look at Doc Rivers' coaching numbers, and he's been nothing short of amazing for Boston here. I mean, already over 500 wins in his career as a coach. Really impressive. A fantastic steal. He knew exactly when to jump into that passing lane. Well done.
Good on the shot. Allen's got 20.
Only question there was who was going to finish it. Easy, fast break.
Yeah, you know what? And I think they made the right call there, Steve.
San Antonio calls timeout. One more thing, Clark, about Rivers. He's been fantastic as a coach in the postseason. Steve, he's had a winning percentage of over 500.
Well, add in the title and plus the 4 straight 50-win seasons, and it's easy to see why Doc Rivers is considered one of the best coaches that we have in the NBA right now.
Glenn Davis is checked in for Boston. Green comes in for Kevin Garnett. Celtics leading by 12. Davis kicks to Pierce. Lets it go with a 3. That's good. 19 points in the game.
What a marvelous job they've done of sharing the basketball. A ton of assists.
Well, they know where each other is all the time. They're moving the ball, just finding the open guy. Nobody seems to care who scores.
And some changes here for the Spurs. Dewan Blair, he's checked in for Splitter. Jefferson comes in for Antonio McDyess. And Tony Parker is subbed in for Manu Ginobili.
You know, looking back now to the 1998 draft, I'm sure there are some teams that picked ahead of Boston in that 10th spot that would like to do that one over and maybe take Paul Pierce, because he slid down that draft a little further than people expected, and he's become an absolute superstar for the Boston Celtics.
.109 left to play here in the third. Tipped away. It's stolen by Rondo. It's tipped out of bounds. And they'll keep possession. Here's Pierce. 15-point game. He's picked up by Parker. Boston, no good that time either. Thinking back to Paul Pierce's draft out of Kansas, even at that time, it was somewhat surprising to see him drop like that in the rotation.
It really was. I can remember thinking about Paul Pierce and how I thought he was the one guy in that draft who really had a ready-made NBA position in game. And to see him slide, that's why the draft is more art than science. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's all about what happens when you get to the NBA, and he's proven to be a Hall of Famer.
And historically one of the great Celtic scorers of all time.
Without question.
Celtics leading by 13. Green left side. Shoots the three. It's good on the putback.
Boy, what a great job of getting into the teeth of the defense and scoring in the paint.
And that's been their main point of attack. I mean, get the ball deep and try to score from in tight rather than rely on their outside shooting. I mean, that's a more consistent way to score. Take it inside.
Goes up with the stripe. And again, it's Tony Parker. Parker's got 4 points in the quarter.
He's just filling the stat sheet. I mean, what hasn't he done out there today?
Well, Steve, you know what we call a guy who fills the stat sheet, don't you? He is a stat sheet stuffer supreme.
And the shot counts. He's fouled, and it's a chance for a three-point play. So Green will go to the line. Tim Duncan picks one up. Free throw good, Green. Here's Parker. Up in time. No good. And here at the end of the third quarter, it's a double-digit ball game. Ray Allen really has his fingerprints all over this one.
All game long, he's been dialed in from deep, hitting 3 after 3.
And his sharpshooting display should open up the floor in the fourth quarter, as they'll have to try to clamp down on him from outside, and that could open up other lanes.
Back here in just a moment here in Boston. Now, while we've got a moment, we're going to send it over to Doris Burke for our Spark of the Game, presented by Sprite. Doris?
Kevin, for that great stretch the Celtics put together, they get the Sprite Spark Award. They keep going right at that defense and continue.
Oh! That's a big boy dunk right there. Grown man sledgehammer dunk.
That was a violent attack on the rim.
Oh, man, was it ever.
That was a great angle we just saw on the Sprite Slam Cam. McDyess. Jefferson kicks to Parker. Feeds it to Neal. Over Green. Passes it to Neal. Kevin Garnett with the steal.
He only had one mistake prior to halftime, but he's starting to get a little sloppy there offensively. Jeff Green, of course, part of that controversial trade for Kendrick Perkins last year at the deadline. The Celtics were very concerned about their backup 3 position. They saw a chance to get Green, a talented player, but in doing so, they gave up a very popular player in Perkins.
Here's what Boston's going with right now. Chris Ditchy's checked in for O'Neal. Murphy comes in for Kevin Garnett. And it's Von Wafer in for Glenn Davis. Then for the Spurs, Matt Bonner, he's checked in for McDyess. Green comes in for Richard Jefferson. And it's Ginobili in for Gary Neal. And for the Celtics, Steve, you're going to remember back to their championship season of 2008. They had that offensive lineup, which included a guy named James Posey playing the 4. So, Clark, maybe you'll see Jeff Green playing a similar role.
That could be, perhaps, Kevin. I mean, I think the trade may have set them back in the short term, but that wasn't all on Jeff Green. I mean, chemistry is really a delicate dynamic, and losing Perk seemed to have affected the team a little more than they expected. But I think going forward, the Jeff Green acquisition is going to bode well and serve the Celtics well.
Here's Parker. Goes right up. Rebound by Delonte West. West has got 3 rebounds so far in the game. Wafer kicks to Green. He dishes it to Kristich. Up with it. Blocked. Spurs trail by 20.
That's just horrible decision. You got to be more patient with the ball.
Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances at the free throw line here. And the first one drops.
You know, guys, I think the Celtics actually came into the playoffs last season with a little less swagger than usual. I mean, losing Kendrick Perkins in a trade seemed to shake them up a little bit. And with Shaq really unable to contribute due to injuries, a team used to being big inside perhaps felt a little smaller.
Celtics leading by 22. Jumps up, and it's Green with the jam.
He made sure everybody saw that slam, Kevin. Stayed on the rim for a little while extra.
Maybe he wanted to give his legs a little rest there, Clark.
Here is Parker. Clark has set the table there well with the Celtics and their injuries that did play a role in the postseason, not just in the front court. The dislocated elbow of Rajon Rondo also factored in. Steve, that was a huge hit for that team.
Yeah, I was amazed that he was able to return in that game and continue to play the rest of the series. But it did limit him. And with Rondo slowed down, the Celtics had a tough time scoring. In fact, Miami really played him and Boston kind of 5-on-4. They didn't honor his offense, and it really cost Boston.
When in doubt, punch it down.
As easy at 2 points as you can get.
Safe to say that's a pretty high percentage shot, guys.
Pulls up from the corner. Can't get it to go. Now San Antonio the other way. Here's Green. That shot's good on the assist by Ginobili. Ginobili's got 4 assists in the game. Here's Kristich. An easy 2 points on the layup. Here is Parker. Poke loose. West picks him up. Tries it from the top of the key. Bonner dishes to Blair. And he was fouled on the way up. 2 free throws now for him. It's on Troy Murphy.
You know, I thought for DeJuan Blair in the Spurs' first-round series against the Grizzlies, it was doubly tough. He struggled with the Grizzlies' front line and saw his minutes really shrink.
And for DeJuan Blair in that series, Steve, do you think it was a bad matchup with him on Zach Randolph?
Well, I think Pop was looking for a little more length on Zach. You know, so he went with Splitter and Duncan. And I think also San Antonio needed scoring. I mean, they struggled to score against Memphis, so they went to Matt Bonner for the shooting range. But remember, Blair had an excellent regular season. It was surprising to see the fact that he was really relegated to the bench during that series.
Gets it to go. 22 points for Allen.
And this one's pretty much wrapped up.
And they know it. I mean, took care of business. Chalk it up as a W, Steve.
And a new group in for the Celtics. Kristich, he's checked in for Garnett. Murphy comes in for Paul Pierce. Jeff Green, he's checked in for Ray Allen. And it's Von Wafer in for Rajon Rondo. And the Spurs making a change here as well. McNice is checked in. Here's Neal. He feeds it to Parker. Some good ball movement here. Duncan outside. Tries a 3. Rebounded by the Celtics. The Celtics on offense. They're on a 14-6 run. Kristich passes to Green. Pushes up. And that one's good. Green's got 15 points here in the second half.
That shooting percentage is off the charts, guys. He's really hitting his shots today.
Here's Ginobili. So the whistle blows on the shot and 2 free throws for the contact right there.
Well, a disappointing playoff performance last season for San Antonio. Of the big 3, Manu Ginobili was the only one who managed to play well against the Grizzlies.
Going back to Ginobili, he played well in the playoffs despite that hyper-extended elbow. Steve, you remember that huge brace he wore?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it didn't get as much attention as what Rajon Rondo went through with his elbow injury, but Ginobili showing every bit as much of toughness as Rondo. I mean, that was impressive. And he was going at Tony Allen and vice versa in that series. A very, very physical confrontation between those two.
And Neal kicks to Parker. all alone. Now that's how to finish the break. Throw down with force.
Well, that's the problem. You turn the ball over, and your defense just isn't set up at the other end.
And sometimes when it happens that way, it almost feels like a 4-point bucket. You know, you look at his numbers, guys, and what concerns me is the turnovers. He's got 4 already, and he's just been careless with the ball.
Here's Neal. And there's the defensive 3-second call.
Well, guys, it was the best start in franchise history for the Spurs last season. They got to 40 wins before the end of January. That was a team first, and finished with the second-best record in the league, 61 wins.
And he shows the focus there, nails the technical. And a new group in for the Celtics. Kevin Garnett, he's checked in for Murphy. Pierce comes in for Jeff Green. Ray Allen is checked in for Von Wafer. Rajon Rondo is subbed in for Delonte West. And a new group in for the Celtics.
Delonte West.
Here's Duncan. It's blocked. 36 seconds left in the game. Kristich kicks it to West. Blocked. And taking care of the ball has been a problem for him.
Yeah, defensively, some really good pressure being applied, though, so you've got to give credit there. It seems like they've been rattled a little bit.
Steve, you think they've been rattled?
Oh, they're rattled all right, and turnovers will kill you, especially with a team like this that can force turnovers and get out in transition.
Here's Parker. 6 seconds separating the shot and game clocks. Gets it to go.
He's done a ton to help his team, guys, and he may have to do more if they're going to come back and win.
And it's the Celtics with the ball. Ooh, offline. First free throw is good.
At the line for the Celtics, Delonte West. Will be at the line shooting 2.
Both good from the line that time. Here's Parker. The dish now to Neal. Picked him clean. And they're running. And so it's Boston easily grabbing this one. Some days, Clark, everything goes right for a team, and they just had one of those games.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, these guys played a great all-around basketball game here.
And that about wraps it up for Clark Kellogg, Steve Kerr, and Doris Burke. This is Kevin Harlan thanking you for watching the NBA presented by 2K Sports. And now, Jordan presents our player of the game, Rajon Rondo.
I get up every morning, got a quarter to 5.